All right, so this is a sort of not first impressions, but like a week or so long impressions of the Shroud mouse or the G303 wireless. Um, the TLDW to this video is that this mouse, tech wise, is like really great, but shape wise is super divisive, and it takes a lot to get used to. And after about a week, I think I might not ever really get used to it. So that's like the TLDW. So now let's get into specifics about this mouse. So first of all, clicks are Omron 20Ms, and they feel perfectly fine to me. They actually have like a pretty much perfect amount of pre and post travel. They're like really easy to click, like it's just really quick, and they snap back really nice. Like you could spam click this if you want, and I don't feel like I'm gonna ever accidentally push it in. So this is clicks are good. Um, Feet wise, I've seen reviewers complain about the G Pro Superlight feet before. I never had a G Pro Superlight, so I can't really comment on those feet, but these seem perfectly fine to me. I don't think they need to be replaced or anything like that, like some reviewers have said about like the Superlight before. These feet seem fine. Nexus sensor, Logitech wireless, and most other big brand wireless mice at this point are flawless, and this isn't an exception. Works perfectly fine. Now get to some things I don't like, which is the scroll wheel. So the scroll wheel is really loud. You probably hear it while I'm talking, but the scroll wheel is really loud. And it's also very hard to press in and actuate. It's just like a really tough press. I don't play games like Apex or any or other games that like you actively using the mouse button all the time to like press in. But if I played those games, if you're someone who plays those games, I wouldn't recommend the G303 purely because the scroll wheel is like really, it's like a difficult mouse wheel to press in. Scrolling wise, it's like super tactile, super defined, even though they don't have like, there's no like visible like steps on the mouse wheel. If I go up close, you'll see the mouse wheel. It's just clear, but it is like there are like you feel the tactility, like it's very tactile, and that's why I guess that's why it's so loud too. So yeah, not a big fan of the scroll wheel personally. I think the tactility is like personal preference, and it's just not my preference. But the actual how hard it is to actuate when you press it in, I think that's like a legitimate flaw with the mouse design. Um, so now we're gonna get to I can't really talk about the side buttons without talking about the overall shape. And so this mouse has a super unique and super divisive shape. It forces you into a claw. I'm already a claw user, so I didn't think that'd be a big deal to me. But it doesn't just force you into a claw, it forces you into a specific claw. And so essentially, it wants you to have your thumb lay flat against the side, like this. It doesn't want your thumb sitting like this. It wants you to lay your thumb flat. Then it wants the rest of your claws to be pretty aggressive and like higher up on the mouse. And so this grip, like the way I'm holding it right now, is just not the way I naturally would hold the mouse. See, when I hold mice, I generally hold my thumb facing outward like this, and just the like end of the thumb is what's holding the mouse on the side. And then I have my fingers resting lower. And this mouse isn't really made for that. It's something I kind of have to adjust to. And so the reason I brought this up and I want to talk about the side buttons is because these side buttons, they're actually quite difficult to use if you have your thumb sitting like this because of where they're positioned. And essentially what ends up happening is like your natural hand shape, the way the mouse wants your hand to sit makes it pretty hard to actually hit the back button unless you want to do it with like the side of your finger like this. And that's just not natural to me because every other mouse I've used, you don't do that. You would use the end of your thumb and click, and your thumb would sit like in between the two side buttons, and you click whichever one you want. Whereas with this mouse, your thumb is meant to be forward, and you use the end of your thumb to click the front button, and then the back to click the back button. And that's just something I'm not used to in any other mice. And this one forces you into that sort of grip. Like using it, like holding it like this is wrong. The mouse forces you into this sort of grip. So my light's probably a bit too bright, but I can't really do anything about that. Oh well, I'm definitely like blown out. Whoa. Um. So yeah, that's like one part of the shape I don't really like. And so another issue I've been having when it comes to the shape is that I find that like I end up putting pressure at the bottom of the mouse here, and it ends up like angling upwards a bit while I'm moving it. And so I actually sometimes while playing, the bottom of like the top of the mouse, so not the bottom, the top of the mouse isn't actually touching the mouse pad, because I'm like slightly raising it by putting so much pressure here. I'm putting so much pressure here that I'm actually raising the mouse a little bit, and that's just like happening while I'm playing, which is really bad. Like that is not good. So these are just like some things with the shape that's bothering me. And so I guess to like make these sort of make sense, I want to kind of compare it to some other mice. This is the SteelSeries Sensei 10, which is like a shape I really, really like, even though the mouse itself is not very good. I would never recommend this mouse to anyone, but I do really, really like the shape. So I'm holding a SteelSeries Sensei 10. The bottom of the mouse goes right into the bottom of my hand like this. And so there's no issue of like the front ever coming up like it does on the G303 because of the pressure I'm putting on here, because of just the shape of the overall mouse. And then secondly, as you can see where I put my thumb, I just sit my thumb in between the two mouse buttons and I easily switch between. Also, and like the curves like help make this natural so that the side here, they just sit naturally along the bottom on the side. And then this is just the mouse grip and it's like, there's no issue. So where you compare it with this, I sort of have to have my fingers higher up on the mouse here. And then on the side here, I have to lay my thumb flat, which means I have to use the back to hit the side button, which is something I've never really done before on any other mouse. When it comes to performance, I haven't noticed a difference. I'm in a bit of a slump right now personally, so I went into some like Kovacs and I tested using the G303, then using the SteelSeries Sensei, HyperX Pulse Fire Haste, and I swapped between them, and the scores were like in the same sort of spot. So I wouldn't say this has improved or been detrimental to my like aim either. It's just sort of not changed it really, but I'm in a bit of a slump right now, so maybe this isn't like the best period of testing, and that's why I'm not calling this a review. I'm calling this like impressions. This is like a week-long impressions. I want to give this mouse more of a chance. I think maybe I'll give it like a month. We'll see what it's like then. I'm also pretty busy with school right now, so I haven't had as much time to be playing and using it as I want to. The battery life on the mouse is really, really good. I think they advertised it at 143 hours, and yeah, it looks like on the software it comes in just like that. And so speaking of the software I used to check the battery life, the software, I actually had issues with this mouse's software, which isn't normal for me. Essentially, initially when I had the mouse, they didn't add it to Logitech G Hub for a little bit, and so I used the onboard memory manager instead, and through that I changed the button here from DPI to play pause, and I set my DPI to 1600, which is where I just leave my DPI, I don't ever touch it again. Then when they finally updated it into G Hub, that caused this button to sort of malfunction, and it ended up doing DPI cycle up, but only up. So it should go up to 3200, which is like the fourth step and the highest step on default, and wouldn't go back down. And then also it was still play and pausing my media. What I ended up doing is opening up both the Logitech G Hub and onboard memory manager. I ended up setting every single DPI step to 1600 and then setting it to play pause, and that seems to have made the issue go away. I haven't had it happen since, but that is something that happened in my experience, so I figured I should include it in the review. So far, this mouse, despite technically being really, really good, actually isn't really working for me so far. So I guess I wanted to get out the issues with the shape, so that's why I brought some other mice out to compare it to. And I'm going to give it a bit more time, and I'll post a full review probably within a month or so, and that'll sum up my thoughts when I've given the mouse more time and I've given the shape more of a chance to get used to for me. So yeah, that's the video.